Okay. We're having problems with our. All right, good evening. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Common Council for Tuesday, September 19th. We are having some technical difficulties. The meeting's being recorded. People will be seeing it. I just can't see the voting screen. I'm going to have to look over at Chris Teskey's. So just bear with me. I worked fine yesterday. Someone was in here today and had a meeting and didn't reset this properly. So with that, if you could please press your I and confirm buttons. Does that show up on the screen?
It shows up here.
But not here?
No.
Oh, great. They gotta look at me all night? Oh, I love that.
11 are present, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. We have a quorum and we'll proceed. If you could all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation. How's the invocation? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Heavenly Father, as we set forth tonight to work as a council to build a better Green Bay, let us be mindful of the many men and women who work to make our community and our country a great place to live. Guide us in the work we do, that we may do it not for self alone, but for the common good of all. Tonight, we pray for our fellow Americans whose lives have been upended due to floods in Texas, hurricanes in Florida, and the wildfires out west. While people are struggling through these tragedies, we're grateful for all those who have offered their resources to help those affected, especially the people of Green Bay, with our police department and public works departments. Bless them and all other volunteers who help bring about stability in chaotic times. Bless all those who work to protect our country and our nation, especially our military men and women and those serving on the USS Green Bay. We ask this in your name. Amen. All right, now I'll entertain a motion for approval of the minutes of the August 15th meeting. There's a motion by Alderman Tom DeWayne, seconded by Alderman Randy Scannell for approval of the minutes. Any discussion here? Seeing no lights, all in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye. And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it. The minutes of the August 15th meeting have been approved. We're now looking for a motion to approve the agenda. Is the motion by Alderperson Dorff, second by Alderman Scannell, to approve the agenda? Seeing no lights, all in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye. And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it, and the agenda before you has been approved. Should I take your line? We're now on to the report of the mayor. Thank you, clerk. Couple things. One is I do want to thank the employees who've helped out in these disasters. You saw the huge fundraiser by the Green Bay Police Department, truckloads of goods to go down to our friends. We were just delighted by Mary Scanlon's effort with the whole animal rescue to go down and just help the people down in Texas with animal rescue. And then, I'd sent out a email to all of you and to all the employees. The mayor had given us their community foundation website, and many people from City Hall and the city and, of course, Greater Green Bay really stepped up, and I just want to thank everyone publicly for their efforts. Speaking of thank yous, and I know I saw some of you there on Friday, I just want to thank the Green Bay Packers for what they did out at that Titletown Park. I mean, that is incredible. 10-acre park for families, kids to play at no cost. And when you look at our community anchored by Bay Beach and then that whole Titletown, those are just two wonderful parks, and I think it's great what they did. I was very surprised, not surprised, but delighted with what they delivered. Just moving on here, Lynn Boland's last city council meeting is tonight. As you know, Lynn is going on to the next chapter, and I don't know what you call it, semi-retirement, retirement, I don't know what you guys call that. We're just grateful for what you've done. 6.5 years here, and almost 8, okay. 8 years here. Wow. Yeah, well, that's good. It seemed like 6.5. And as you know, Lynn, we have a little going away party tomorrow at 5 o'clock at, where are we going? Fox Harbor. So, and there we'll present some gifts to Lynn. Staying in line with recognition, Darren Olson, who I think a lot of you know, he is one of our snowplow drivers. And well, 2 weeks ago, they had the snowplow rodeo out at Lambeau Field. And that is tough. They get teams from all over Wisconsin, Minnesota to come and compete. And you drive, obviously, a snowplow, very tight cones, roundabouts, back in, back out. They've got, their plywood cars that you have to drive in between. And Darren won. I mean, he beat everybody, and we're very pleased. Isn't that awesome? I mean, he's not here. He's going to come. And look, I just talked about natural disasters, and so we get snow, 12, 15 inches, and it's gone in 24 hours thanks to people like Darren. So I did that. I drove. They let a few of us drive the course, and for every cone you take out, it's a person, and I killed a lot of people because that is tough. I just want to give a shout out to 3 other of our drivers who got 100% on the written test. Right, there's a written test and a driving test, and they got every one of them right with the rules and the safety. And that's Steve, help me out there. That's Josh Brashford, Steve Grandy, and who's the Hout? Kelly Stacy. So those guys need some recognition too, and we're just really, Darren's going to be representing Green Bay in Colorado at the National Snowplow Rodeo, and we wish him our best, and we're grateful. Last thing, we just took a photo. Walk a Mile in My Shoes is coming up. That, of course, is the city's participation in what's one of the struggles in this community, and that's domestic violence. And the Golden House addresses that. They're the only domestic abuse shelter in the county, and we support that as a city, and many of us support that financially. And to participate in the Walk a Mile in Your Shoes, that's October 19th at Hagemeister. And you can go on their website, which is goldenhouse.org, to make a donation or to sign up for the walk. But that's a good thing. We're very proud and grateful for the work they do. Okay, that concludes my report.
We're on to announcements.
Yes. The announcements, Alderman Weary's got the light before you. Alderman Weary has the announcements. All right.
Take a break until somebody comes and fixes these. Oh, it's working now. Is it? Okay.
The board doesn't, that's what I said.
Everything's working except the board? Okay.
Alderman Weary?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to announce that good news, the Lombardi Neighborhood Association is reforming again after a few years of being off, and they're meeting at 6 p.m. at Moravian Church this Thursday. That's on Oneida Street, the Moravian Church. The area is roughly 9th Street to Lombardi and Gross to Ridge, so I welcome any residents in that area to come out and help get it going again, any aldermen who want to come. So, thanks.
All right, thank you. Alderman Scannell?
Thank you, Your Honor. I just have 2 announcements. They're both for this Saturday coming up here, the 23rd, at the YWCA. They're having a Tech Girls Workshop. It's part of the STEAM efforts. It's for girls in grades 2 through 4. And then that's 9 to 1. And at 1 o'clock, the Brown County Library is hosting Catherine Gall, who will be doing an ekphrastic poetry reading. And you all know what that is, right? Poetry that's inspired and related to art. And her poetry is related to her husband's art, Ellen Burt Zylstra. So the girls can get some tech work done, and then they can go hear some poetry. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Alderman Moore?
Thanks, Your Honor, and thanks, Alderman Weary, for reminding me of something. In the last few years, we were able to revive the East Shore Drive Neighborhood Association and the Old North Neighborhood Association. And we're looking to grow in Old North. We are looking at adding the Havers Corners Neighborhood Association. Covers a lot of the old Preble area, University to Eastman, and from Dan's to Elizabeth. Big square of a lot of residential that I hope some people will step up and want to get involved. Please feel free to reach out to myself. My email is district6@greenbaywi.gov, or give me a call at 445-0145 if anybody's interested in being a part of that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Alderman Weir, did you have anything else? Alderman Zima?
No, I don't have anything.
All right. Chris?
No.
Okay.
So we're on to recognitions. Recognition of Captain Kevin Warwick for receiving the International Association of Chiefs of Police 40 Under 40 Award.
Let's just leave that. Okay. So I think you've read about this. We have so many great people in this community, and Captain Warwick is one of them. And I've asked the chief, if you want to use this podium here. Yeah, we're very proud of Kevin, or Captain, and his accomplishments. So, Chief, go ahead.
Sure. So Kevin Warwick is a captain, been a captain for a number of years in the police department. He's currently the chief of staff, which means he does just about everything out there. When it's not my face you see on TV, it's Kevin's, as you saw in the hallway just a couple minutes ago. He's always there to answer the call if some information needs to put out there. But moreover, he's there, and he's really our cornerstone of all of our community policing programs, all our juvenile programs. He works, represents us at our Bring Your Own 5. He's there for the Unity Walks. If there's an event on the weekend, God bless his family for letting him go and come to all those meetings and all those things that we do on the weekends. But Bring Your Own 5, our Community Advisory Board at the Divine Temple, our juvenile programs, including badges and baseballs, and all those other programs. Kevin is the guy that's out there all the time. So we nominated him to be a recipient of this 40 Under 40 award. The International Association of Chiefs of Police is made up of thousands of police chiefs from across the world, and almost every country is represented. And every year they pick 40 individuals from across the planet, and they identify them as those that exemplify leadership and a commitment to excellence in our profession. And this year, people from Belgium were recognized, Sri Lanka, a bunch of other countries I can't pronounce, and our own Green Bay captain, Kevin Warwick. So I'd like to bring him up to just say a word real quick.
Thank you. Thank you. Hey, thanks everybody for your support. It is just truly humbling. I'm honored to represent the city. But, this is not all about me. This has never all been about me. I can't do what I do without my family right behind me, my wife, my children. They're the ones that allow me to go on the weekends. So they do bear the burden sometimes of me not being home. But more importantly, it's this community. It's always been about the community. It forever will be about the community. The people at the Divine Temple right here to my right, my heart goes out to you guys. The people at Casa Alba, Black Lives United. It's just, there's wonderful people in this community, and I just bring them together for some great causes. They do the work, I just supplement the resources. And thankfully, we get to represent the city on a national level, and I'm very honored, and thank you for your support.
Yeah, congrats, Captain.
So Kevin will be flown on the expense of the ICP to Philadelphia this year to represent Green Bay, and he'll be recognized there as well. So thank you for that. And you couldn't be prouder of Kevin, the men and women of the police department, for the great work that gets done every day. Today we get to recognize Kevin, but he's right. It's a team effort for all of us that are there. So we're really proud of that, and thank you.
All right, good job, Chief. Well, you guys both mentioned, and it leads into our next presentation, and I know you've both been instrumental in this Bring Your Own 5 group. And Chief, I know you've we put a proclamation together. I'll have you read it, and I'll help present it. Maybe you want to give a little explanation on exactly what this is all about.
Sure. So one of the cornerstones in our community for many years now has been the Divine Temple Church of God in Christ, run by Pastor Green and obviously Deacon Terry and Sharon. And when I got selected to be the chief in Green Bay, I came out here to visit, and Mayor recalls he had me come out here to go see one of the Packer games and see how that operation works. But before I went to the Packer game that day, the first stop I went by was the Divine Temple, and I knocked on the door, and I was wearing my suit, and I didn't know who, they certainly didn't know me. But about a month before I came here, I went down there, and I was greeted by Deacon Terry at the door, and brought inside, and because I'd read about what they had done in the community here and how they had worked in the community, I wanted to make sure that that was one of the first stops that I went to and the first places that I stopped to and got to know people, because I knew I was going to partner with them as the new chief of police here. Fast forward to the past year and a half that we've been working together, and they have been the cornerstone of so many different things for us. They host every month. They host our community advisory board meetings, where members of all the different parts of the community, from the folks in the Quaker community to our Hmong community members, people from Casa Alba and our immigrant community, African American community, everyone else, LGBTQ community, comes there, and we talk about issues that we have. I know many alder folks have been there. I know, I see Randy there at every one of those meetings. It's really important for us to keep that connection. I think it's what keeps Green Bay a safe community and a cohesive community. So I did some work on a proclamation, and I'd like to call them up then. Maybe Sharon Harper, Deacon Terry Cook, and Pastor Green, Pastor Elsie Green, who's in charge in the back. Why don't you come on up here and let me read this off. So the real story behind this is the Bring Your Own 5 basketball tournament, which was the idea of the folks at Divine Temple. You recall what was happening in Fisk Park a couple summers ago, where there were so many problems that the cops actually went in there and removed the nets and the hoops from the basketball boards, because there was just so many problems there. The cops were going there. We just couldn't be there all the time. And we kind of got called out for it by Pastor Green. And he said, hey, we can do better than this. And then Sharon came up with the idea, along with these two, of how about a tournament every Saturday during the summer, give the kids something to do and give the kids a place to do it safely. And ever since then, they've held this Bring Your Own 5 basketball tournament. Now, our cops are out there every week as well. And I tell everybody, it's not about basketball. It's not about kids playing basketball. It's about kids, young men, that don't really have a good relationship with the cops, getting an opportunity to spend some time with police officers. And it's a chance for police officers who sometimes don't have a good relationship with young men in our community, getting a chance to see them someplace else where they can talk to each other, they can play a little basketball, and get to know each other on a personal basis. And to be honest with you, I think this is a huge part of why Green Bay is a great place, but also why our crime numbers are going down, and why Fisk Park is such a great place to go and spend the weekends in the summer. So we wrote a quick proclamation. I'm going to let Pastor Green say a few words, because he's never been short of words to say, my experience has been. So in 2015, Deacon Terry, Sharon Harper, and Pastor Green established Bring Your Own 5 basketball games for kids in the park. They did this with the help of some officers after we took our hoops down. The real person who gets all the kids out there is Sharon Harper. She's a whiz when it comes to Facebook and social media, and she gets all these kids out there. And there's dozens of kids every day, scores of kids every Saturday that are out there, and hundreds of kids we've reached throughout this past summer. We have one referee who's out there every day for every game, Deacon Terry. There's one rule, and that is Deacon Terry is always right. And it makes everything smooth. And to be honest, we've had some kids out there, some young men, who say they feel comfortable playing there because Deacon Terry's there, the cops are there, they know there's not going to be any fights, there's not going to be any of the baloney that you get sometimes when young men hang out together, there's never any drinking, there's not even any cursing when I'm out there. So, and I think that has a lot to do with Sharon Harper. She keeps a pretty tight rein on everybody. Anyway, Terry calls the games, and I have to give a quick shout out to Randy Scannell. He's there every day, flipping the numbers and keeping track of everybody that's out there. So maybe when we take a picture, I'll invite Randy to come up here and be a part of that. Anyway, Pastor Green and the Divine Temple Church embraced the controversial issues in our community and shown true leadership in making Green Bay a safer, better, and more just place to live by spearheading community meetings and community concerns and working tirelessly to solve these problems and prevent future problems from occurring. So the Green Bay Police Department, the City of Green Bay, commend Pastor Green, Deacon Terry Cook, and Sharon Harper for their exemplary work for the community. So, and I'll read this last paragraph. We, Mayor Jim Schmidt and the Chief of Police Andrew Smith, on behalf of a grateful City of Green Bay, congratulate Pastor Elsie Green, Deacon Terry Cook, and Sharon Harper on their exemplary work and look forward to partnering with them for years to come. They are pillars of strength, unity, and integrity in our community and serve as role models who make fine examples for all of Green Bay.
Very good.
You know, I'm never out of words, but I think I'm out tonight. I really appreciate this, but I love the community. And when the basketball goals came down, I thought that we was giving in to that crowd. And as hard as we work in this community, I don't think we should ever give in to that crowd. And my grandkids live in that area, and they told me, they called me Big Daddy. They said, Big Daddy, we got to walk a long ways to get to basketball. So that's when I went to work. And I see now they're having community meetings at Fisk Park. So that's what it takes, a community to get out, to weed out the wrong stuff that's in the community. If we do it together, we are better together.
Congrats.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
You want to stick around the hallway for a second? I'll show you.
All right, clerk, we can continue. Oh, yeah, Chief.
Can we get a picture of you with Kevin and his family before they head off to up there?
Thought the captain was working here tonight.
All right, clerk.
We're on to appointments. New appointment, Community Development Block Grant Revolving Loan Fund Committee, Chad G. Van Handel. And reappointment is Water Commission Catherine Hasselblad Pascal.
All right, there's a motion by Alderman Moore, seconded by Alderman Nicholson for the new appointment of Chad Van Handel and the reappointment of Catherine Hasselblad. Any discussion here? See no lights, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it, and the new appointment and reappointment have been confirmed. Thank you.
We're on to reconsideration, request by Alderman Zima and Nicholson to reconsider item 5 of the Park Committee report of August 9th, 2017, which was acted on by the Common Council on August 15th, 2017, regarding the deascension of the 9/11 sculpture based on the findings of the 9/11 sculpture subcommittee.
Right. So I've looked into this, and I'm going to rule this motion out of order for a number of reasons. We've looked at Robert's Rules of Order, and so on an affirmative vote, whose provisions have been partly carried out, cannot be reconsidered. When practically the same result as desired can be obtained by some other parliamentary motion. What Alderman Zima can do is put in a communication. I don't know, but we've acted on this. We have got minutes from the Public Arts Commission, went to the Park Committee. It was discussed here. We moved the ceremony up because of the request of one of you for 9/11. We had a terrific ceremony. We built an apparatus to house the beam, and that action's been taken. So I'm ruling this out of order. So we'll continue. Fine. Okay.
Your Honor, things should not be done before the appropriate times have passed to allow people to do reconsideration. Reconsideration is part of our rules, and it was done in a timely manner.
It doesn't follow Robert's Rules of
I
Order,
guess-
which is what we adopted here.
Well, I tell you,
And you talked about it for 6 minutes at the last meeting.
the past practice of the city of Green Bay for as long as I've been here is that anyone can ask for reconsideration until one meeting has passed.
No, until
And
provisions
I
have been
tell you,
partially carried out.
This was was pushed through haphazardly. There was a subcommittee that was set up of the Green Bay Public Arts Committee, but it was essentially or Alderman Scannell and your staff. And that was brought into the Park Committee about 6 days before it came to the council. And of course, because we've only been having one council meeting a month and our work is doubled up, that meeting went till 3 o'clock in the morning. And when I asked to have it referred back, nobody was in the mood for it. And it was passed, so I asked for reconsideration. And I tell you, a lot of information has come forward. Your Honor, taking a $250,000 monument in a prominent place in our city, honoring.
Look, I'm ruling it out of order. You can
Well-
challenge the chair, we can vote on it, but this
Well, I'm
this went
challenging
through August 9th. This was I read the minutes of
You
that
just wanna
meeting.
jam
That was very
You just want to
detailed.
do everything your way or the highway, huh?
August 9th, you talked about
I'm
it there.
sorry.
You talked about it for 6
Well,
minutes
okay,
at the
I'm-
council meeting.
I'm challenging it.
That's
There's
fine.
people here to talk about it. You never even, your committee never
It's not my committee,
bothered.
it's the Parks Committee.
It's not. The Parks Committee just received it from the subcommittee at the last minute before the meeting.
Well, that's, okay, Grenier gave an explanation. Alderman Nenning asked if we could move it up to
Your
the
Honor,
11th.
people brought
Alderman
you money.
Scannell,
People
Alderman
brought
Weary
you
voiced his
money to repair
appreciation.
that, and you turned it down.
That's just not true.
You refused. Not true, huh?
No,
Really?
yeah, really.
Here, I want you to tell us about that.
Man, are you kidding? Joe, look, I'm ruling this
Let's
out.
look-
You
You're
want
not
to put a
looking very good up there,
communication?
Your Honor. Come on, talk straight to us.
Alderman Zima, what are you talking about? You think you're the guy who don't remember talking about this?
Were you
came into the-
offered money by citizens to repair that monument?
We worked with the fire department on a fundraiser.
You had a fundraiser?
Nope, we ended up not doing that, so.
You're not answering the question.
Yeah, Chris,
Did-
look,
did-
he
did
can
anyone-
handle
did
himself,
anyone-
right? You really gotta whisper in his ear.
Yeah,
You
you're
wanna
looking really
put
good,
your
Your
tongue in
Honor.
his
Why
ear
don't you
too?
put the camera on
I mean, come on.
yourself? Why don't you put your camera on yourself so the public?
Good. Okay, I have ruled this motion out of order. I have ruled this out of order. You challenge the chair and then we'll debate it.
Were you offered money?
No,
You were not offered money? Really?
I don't recall being offered money to fix that memorial, except for working with Captain Bronkhorst, so. No, we're taking this up. This is the motion on the floor.
Sorry, maybe I'll just give you a little reminder. Maybe your memory will be improved. Your chief of staff acknowledged that you're going to do fundraising and work with the people who had raised almost $15,000 by December 2010, but you turned it down.
I don't know what this is about.
Well, you don't know much about anything, do you?
Can you believe this guy? Are you gonna let him do this? I mean, are you gonna let him do this?
This is a very
I mean, come on.
You're looking for some asking for.
Right, and I'm saying this is out of order, so let's take a vote on this. He is challenging the chair. I'm seeing if this can be debated. This is on challenging the chair. I'm ruling this out of order. So if you, what's that? Hang on.
Robert's rule states that debatable appeals are as follows. A motion limiting or extending debate or a motion for the previous question can be applied to a debatable appeal. Well, my understanding is that you guys have before you an appeal of the chair's decision, not whether or not to extend debate.
This is embarrassing.
Relative of someone who died.
Okay, can we vote on this?
No, actually, you know, it does say it is debatable unless it relates
All right,
to.
fine. So this is on challenging the chair, strictly on challenging the chair. I'm ruling this out of order. Alderman Weary, did you want to
Yes, I
comment on
do.
this?
Thank
All
you,
right.
Mr. Mayor. I also would definitely reconsider my vote. I've learned more in the past 2 days than I've learned since we put this monument up. The co-founder, one of the co-founder, I think the artist for the 9/11 memorial is here tonight. There is a relative of someone who died during the attacks. His brother is actually part of the memorial now. And I know Alderman Scannell says no, but there's a lot of proof to the contrary. So I don't think the subcommittee really did their work on this. There's a lot of information that didn't come out, such as 7 years ago, they did come forward, Mr. Mayor, too, and I've seen all the evidence. It's well documented. I mean, we can bring it forward. That's probably why you don't want to open the floor. They can show you a binder full of stuff. They came forward with $14,000 to start a fund to fix the problems, to start it. And they also came forward, McMahon and Associates out of Neenah, their engineers, have 20 pages of detailed plans on how to fix it. And you didn't want anything to do with it. I mean, they came forward with plans on how to fix it and money. I didn't know any of this. I wish this would have come to a committee back then. We would have worked on it. I wish the subcommittee would have done their work and reached out and found out this information. I wish I had known that there were, you know, somebody from Wisconsin is part of that monument, and it means much more than just that beam. And it turns out that beam was given to us through Mayor Giuliani for the express purpose of this memorial. I think we'd have to give it back otherwise, if what I'm seeing and reading is correct. Now, scoff at it all you want, Alderman Scannell, but you didn't do your homework on this, and that's very disappointing. I wish the Parks Committee would never have given this over. And I would like it sent back to the Parks Committee for further recommendation, for further looking at this. Very sad.
First things first.
And I don't know why you're blocking that, Mr. Mayor.
I'm not,
Why are you blocking it?
I'm not.
Let's refer this
It
back
went
to
through the
committee.
proper committees. You're the guy who said Alderman Weary voiced his appreciation to the
I
subcommittee
had
for its
incomplete
efforts. He
information.
expressed his support for the plan going forward.
Yeah, when you find out the full information, then you realize
We had
what
an
you did
estimate
was
from the-
wrong, and I'm
No.
man enough to say what we did was
So
wrong.
I went to the Parks Committee at cost of
Don't tell me what I
fixing
did.
that.
Don't tell me what I did.
Okay, whatever. Yeah, let's do it right. Right. Right, you can put a communication in. Okay, so is this? So the motion on the floor is challenging the chair. I'm ruling this out of order and thinking communications go in, so vote. If you support the chair, you vote yes. If you support Alderman Zima, you vote no.
Can I just speak on this?
Yep.
Voting on Robert's Rules of Order?
Yeah,
It's just the opposite. Support the challenge, you vote aye.
okay,
You said the opposite.
all right.
Nervous, Your Honor?
Nope, not at all.
Well, then let's get things straight.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. I'm asking this council to vote in favor of Alderman Zima for one reason. There's a lot of information. I got a call from a gentleman in New York, and I also got a call from a lady in Iowa about a lot of this stuff, and they're frustrated. They hear this. And so I really do believe this needs to just go back. There's no rush for this. It's very important to what we do here that's going to be around the world. 9/11 Memorial is just, we want to do it right. And, Your Honor, I would hope you just would take that and let them do this and send it back to the parks, because since I've been here 12 years, and if someone came in within those 30 days or before the last day, you were able to reconsider every time. So I'm not sure where you're coming with that, but just please, let's get this so we can send it back and get the information we need. I think there's important information out there. Let's do it right and not look foolish on this. Thank you.
All right.
Passing notes now?
No, I just want to point again how you're wrong. After the result, Those in favor of sustaining the chair's decision, vote yes, which is what I said, and then you were quick to point me, so. Well, here, just shut you up. A yes vote,
No. Now it is.
yeah, it's Robert's Rules of Order. You think a lot of Robert's Rules of Order is wrong. Alderman Moore?
I agree with Alderman Dwayne in that we need to do this the right way, but I think the very next item on here is referral of petitions and communications. It should be just put in as a new communication, and we would just ask that mayor and that Director Grenier leave the monument alone until this can be seen before the Parks Committee again, and let's just bring it back. As far as your initial comment that says if you support the chair, vote yes, not that I support the chair. I would vote yes because I'm in agreement of the rule. And if the rules say that we can't take this, and you've already ruled that we can't consider this, that this item isn't even really eligible for us to be discussing, then there's a legality issue with that. So we vote. Yeah,
Let him, just settle down.
right. You know what? People speed in the streets all the time. It doesn't make it legal just because they don't get caught. And then if they get caught, they don't say, I always drove 55 down this 35 zone. Come on, all right? Let's do it right. So we've done it wrong for 40 years or more, or whatever it's been. So let's do it right now. So if the Roberts rules say that this can't be taken up, then let's not take it up. The very next item on our agenda is referral of petitions and communications. Your Honor, will you leave the monument alone until this can come before Parks and have more action by the council?
Sure. Yes.
Then I'm good with supporting the Roberts rules on this, to not take it up right now.
Okay.
Randy and Kathy.
Alderman Scannell?
I was going to talk about our subcommittee work, but if it's going to be going to a committee, I can save my words for them. We don't have to waste the time now. But I think a lot of the information that is currently floating around is a lot of misinformation and information that's very old. We did try to get a hold of the owners and the original people, and we couldn't. So, but anyway, that can all be for another time. That doesn't need to come now. So, thank you.
Anybody else? Mr. Zimmer?
Well, I'll tell you, whatever Robert's Rules of Order say, somewhere in our rules, for as long as I've been here, and I'm in my 40th year,
Another rule, Alderman Zimmer, you can only speak once on this issue, so I'm sorry.
Okay, gag everybody. I make a motion that we open the floor because there's people that come a long way to talk about this.
We are dealing with this motion first, so vote. If you sustain the chair, you vote yes. If you don't, vote no. If you support Guy, I vote no. Oh, hang on. If you support the chair, which rules this out of order because of Robert's rules, you vote yes. Yep. If you think this motion is out of order because of the reasons stated, you vote yes. Alderman Stoyer?
Need to confirm. Oh, okay.
And Alderman Vanderleest? Alderman Vanderleest, did you want to vote? Okay. So it's 5 yeses and 7 noes. The ruling is overruled. Print that out for me. All right. So now I'll entertain a motion to reconsider the action of the Common Council for August 15th.
So moved.
There's a motion by Alderman Zima, second by Alderman Wary. Discuss this. Alderman Wary.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I make a motion to open the floor for interested parties.
All right, so we have a motion by Alderman Weary, second by Alderman, who seconded that? Stoyer, to open the floor to hear from interested parties. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. And those opposed, nays. Ayes have it. We're reconsidering the request by the Park Committee for the action taken on August 15th regarding the deaccession of the 9/11 sculpture. If you'd state your name and address and, well, 3 minutes for comments.
Okay. My name is Mike Maladnik. I'm from Crivets, and I found out nothing about this destruction of that memorial until, in fact, Barb called me. It was on 9/11, and I just don't quite understand how you can basically destroy something that can be repaired. You know, I just don't comprehend that, and I guess it's just a, I don't know, a kick in the face to any other family members, and those people have died. And I just don't understand without any form of input. And I know Barb has done a lot of work with this, and there's nobody that knows any more about this memorial than she does. I don't know the actual costs and the funding and all that type of stuff, but I was involved with it from the start. And anyway, maybe you don't realize that, but that means a lot to a lot of people. And I don't know what else to say. I mean, it's just from inside myself, and it's just horrible. And I'm actually still in a state of shock when I heard that. She called me on 9/11, and let's say I live in Crivets. I don't get down this way too much, but when I do, I'll stop by here, and I mean, just stop and think. If you were somebody else with family members from Wisconsin, you know, live in this state, there are people beside myself, survivors, all of a sudden decide to take a drive. Oh, where did it go? You know, I mean, that's just a horrible thing. It might not mean something to some of you there, but you have no idea how much it means to people like me who lost loved ones there, like I lost my brother. And it just doesn't make any sense for something that can be repaired, why you want to destroy it.
Thank you.
Barb Jack, N7749 Sherwood. I was the one that designed it, and we had a huge committee that built it. Everything was by donation. But what you guys don't know is there's a piece of Pentagon stone in it. There was a golden painted tube with a remnant of a victim. And Mike, where'd you go? Put some things in, most of the why are you shaking your head over there? You don't believe me? Well, here's a family right here. You know, I mean, you guys got to realize this. There is a remnant of a victim in there. And there's, like I said, the stone, and there's items from the bishop, and the pope is in there. Do you have a question? You're kind of interrupting, or what? You know? Okay.
Yeah, continue.
And it is a true memorial. And yes, I did raise the money to give to Mr. Schmidt, and it was not accepted. Neither was the plans, because Mr. Schmidt had said at that time he didn't want anything to do with the people that originally built it. And we had talked about putting the money into some kind of a landscaped fund, but it wasn't accepted. So we didn't move on, and that was to be our prototype memorial. And we had 5 other ones to go. Lake Havasu City was the next one, and it just didn't go any farther. You remember that?
Thank you. I said thank you. Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Tyler Bryant. I live in Hobart. You know, I was doing my homework today, and I was walking down the street, and then I saw her, and she wanted me to take a picture of the 9/11 memorial monument that is by the Neville Public Museum. So I did that, and then we got to talking, and she told me her story, that this woman put so much dedication, put so much effort into building that memorial that shows how much she cares about all the families that were a part of this, the thousands of Americans that have died. And it just boggles my mind to see that there are people in this world that exist who would want to deface that. I just don't understand. I mean, at the end of the day, when we all go home, we all have to recognize all the people that are affected by this, how much that memorial means to all of us, and that still people out there would want to destroy that.
Thank you.
Jim Sanderson, 417 Cambridge Street, Green Bay. I'm looking at this as just one more unique thing in our city that this administration is setting out to destroy. I watched that construction of that monument with great interest because it was the same shape as something else that I had previously envisioned and came to the city years earlier to ask if it could be built, and of course it wasn't. The foundation of that monument is solid. It's like if you have a house that has deteriorating siding on it, you tear the whole house down because you just don't want to deal with replacing that siding. That marble is a veneer. I mean, take the marble off, what's it going to cost to rip that out of there? I'm sure it's going to be far more than whatever the cost of replacing the marble sections is. I mean, why has this city got it in their heads, the government, to be an example to everybody other community in this area of lunacy in dealing with common sense problems? I mean, replace the marble. It'll be back to where it was. If the beam is deteriorating because of the weather, there's plenty of waterproof substances that can be applied over the top of it. Is that a real complicated issue to deal with? No, I don't think so. I mean, when are we going to stop being looked at as with such ridicule by all these other communities about how we make an issue out of these petty little things? Deal with it, get it over with. Do it a person that actually legitimately has what's considered a real thinking mind. It doesn't take going outside the box to solve this problem, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone else? Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, I think she asked you a question, Ms. Jack.
Oh, gee.
You don't have to go, oh, gee. My name's Janet Angus, by the way. My address is 1403 Shirley
Can you
Street.
step up to the mic, please, so we can get you recorded?
I think this nice lady here asked you a question, if you remembered,
Raising the money?
raising the money and then denying it. I'd like that question as a
Yeah,
citizen
the answer is
of Green
no.
Bay.
I've answered that like
You don't
4
remember it.
times.
Do you ever remember her
We looked
contacting
at the cost of fixing that, and I know
guess
that was
the
expensive.
question was very specific.
And I said no.
No, no.
Point of order, Your Honor, we're debating with
Yeah, the answer is no. I mean, N-O.
Doesn't remember.
I didn't say I didn't remember. I
sat
said
in your
no.
office with 2 other people, and you have an email in front of you from
John
that says
Stevenson.
that you would help us in the raising of money, but I did it all myself. I got a $10,000 donation from somebody, not even in our state, to fix our memorial, because there was no memorials like this anywhere. Not even New York didn't have one at the time. And then I raised the rest of the money needed, the $4,700 some dollars, to get the $14,000 needed. The reason that the granite that I understand cracked was because it was put on part of the sidewalk, and from the cold in the summer shifting or whatever, that it cracked it. Water got through the top where the mortar stuff is between there, and ice froze and broke it. We had enough money to fix it and replace it, but then you said you wouldn't take it.
That's not true.
Yes, it is true. It is absolutely true. Why did I raise
need
the
not
amount
take
of money
money.
needed? There's the estimate for the granite, exactly the amount of money
Right.
that we had to fix it. We wanted to give it to you to fix it because it wasn't ours anymore. It is true.
Okay.
I
well,
sat in your
don't
office
debate
with
you.
George and Michelle talking to you about it because it wasn't ours, so we had to ask permission to raise the money so that you could fix it. Yes, Mr. Schmidt, it was true.
Okay.
Well, I don't know any of
Let him
this,
say
but,
that.
I just said,
you know.
no, I just said to him, these guys, let's just get through this. I know,
Yeah,
well,
gee.
let's keep calm. Let's just keep calm.
He's getting away with to deceive.
Right. They gave me enough money to fix it, and I said no. Guys, stop it up, or I'm going to kick you out.
Come on, guys.
All right. What else? Okay.
I don't know, is there any?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. I do have one question.
This is unbelievable.
The base, how big is that? How deep does that go?
I would guess about 12 feet.
I was surprised by, I thought it was overbuilt.
I believe it's about 12
It's
feet.
like at least 12 feet. Yeah, I was there. I don't know the exact dimensions on it.
Reinforced concrete.
Removing it is going to be probably an expensive endeavor just to
Well, you,
self-deliver.
I don't know that you can. There, like I said, there's a remnant of a body, no matter what the gentleman next to you believes or not. It could be his brother, for all you know, standing right next to you, nobody's gonna say. It's private information. Yeah, sure.
Where would you get the fiber line? How would you transport that? How, that is.
You know, this is.
There's no documentation of that. How come there's no documentation?
Why would
Something
there
like
be?
that?
Why, you've got fingernails, hair, you've got blood, you've got ID kits, you've got numerous teeth. Did you put stuff in there?
No, we put stuff in there. That's
All right,
not
but
from
we're
me,
not to
we-
say-
We're not to say who.
He
it is.
doesn't want to say whether it's him or not. It is a
there
true
is
memorial,
parts in there.
and that's what was to be in all 50 states, that people had somewhere to go on 9/11 or a birthday. Somebody planned on doing a wedding at the memorial because their parents were both perished. The people in Pennsylvania were gonna, at noon, go to the memorial for the people that are in Wisconsin for their families and celebrate a day at the same thing. That's what it was meant to be.
The bishop and the pope?
They sent stuff, yes, to be one of the first ones. Friar Brian Jordan from New York arranged it, and we have stuff in the base, yes.
But you don't know what?
Yes, I do.
What did they say?
There is holy water, there's rosaries, there's little Christian, I don't know what it's called, what did somebody tell me? Amulet, is that what it is?
I wouldn't know.
I don't know, just stuff that they had sent us through, from Friar Brian Jordan.
And when were these put in?
In the base, in the cement. You're talking to somebody who's did it, I mean, it's kind of insulting what you're saying,
I'm trying to get.
actually.
When?
I don't know what day it was.
There's a picture
you
I
know?
don't mean the exact,
Well, that's what you're asking me
no, I
when.
mean the exact date.
Well,
I don't know,
then-
I didn't mean by the date.
I don't know how to answer you then.
At what point in the construction? I'm sorry, I phrased that.
Well,
wrong.
that's
Yeah,
not
when
what
the
you said.
concrete was poured.
Right.
Okay.
There was like 3 or 4 different times that they did the cement laying. They put like so much down, then they did so much and whatever. It was all full of rebarb, is that what it's called? The metal stuff?
Reinforced concrete.
Yeah, and this was
Okay,
put
well,
inside that.
so, and people came, we told the families when things was gonna be happening, and I'd come there and there was a little Tylenol bottle taped up to a rebar. I didn't look inside of it, it's none of my business, but I know a family member knew to put it in there, or had somebody do it. It's a true memorial, and I understand you're the one that doesn't like it, but it's the way it is.
No. Well, we're not to the date.
Nope. All right.
All right.
Anything else from the public?
And that steel cannot be put in a public building. That steel was told to us by Ground Zero that it is, and we had to sign a booklet for it and send it back. It is to be 24/7, that anybody can see it, touch it, look at it. It had to be in a place that was handicapped accessible. It had to be like an outside memorial. If you're putting it in there, then I need to call and talk to somebody and get that taken care of, because you can't be sending it to different buildings, I believe you're gonna do, send it around to different fire departments or something. That's what I was told.
It's gonna be in the police department's lobby.
Well, are people gonna go in there and look at it and think about, oh, really?
Open 24/7,
Well, that's not what it's meant for. It's meant to be on the front of that memorial.
and that's what's temporary. Whatever.
Okay.
Temporary is fine, but that's what the intentions of it was for.
All right.
And I'm the only one in the whole United States that got steel to do these memorials with. I sent a letter to Mayor Giuliani, he read it, he loved the idea, and he hand gave that letter to Mayor Bloomberg. And then I got a call shortly after that from Ground Zero and got my steel. But I was never able to move on to any other states. I don't know if I'm able to, but
You have a question, Mr.
yes.
The, from McMahon and Associates, those plans, and I appreciate you forwarding those less than 24 hours ago, they're 30 pages of detailed plans. Were those presented?
I tried to, but Mr. Schmidt told me he didn't want to deal with anybody that dealt with the memorial in the first place.
And what I saw also, there was a $14,000.
Right, granite, yep. So what happened was we were donated that granite from that place on Highway 41 there, and it wasn't double grade A granite. I wouldn't have known the difference, and that's what you, I guess, apparently need is double. And you needed the bullnose edge with the drip cuttings underneath so the water goes under and it doesn't go behind the granite. I'm kind of relearning again, but I'm not an engineer, so, yeah. But what happened was, somebody from Green Bay here met at the memorial with the Granite people, the Tower people, everybody. We all met around there and talked about it, all together. And they were there too, and they came up with this kind of plan, talking about it at the memorial.
Would you be willing to be part of the discussion moving forward? Just go back to our Parks Committee or whatever? Fix it?
I don't know that I know anything about what you're looking at, though.
Well, if we refer back to a public committee where, talk about how to move forward.
I'll try. But they told us that what they needed to do was put lentil angle irons at the bottom so that the granite sits on these little L bracket kind of things, so it moves with the memorial, not that it's on the cement and doesn't move with the memorial. Does that make sense? That's what I was told?
And was I at that meeting too around the memorial?
No.
Okay, but that was a meeting where you discussed fixing it.
Mhm.
And who was there from the city?
I don't remember. Well, let me just tell you. I got a couple guys that I was talking to. Dan Ditchite is one of them. Ditchik? Is that his name?
Pretty good guy.
Hang on.
No, you're not. Mayors could trip her up if you wanted to.
I'm not, don't get me in trouble.
Yeah, it's enough. Let's move on. Anything else from the public?
Can you apologize for that?
Mm-mm.
You don't need that.
I'm sorry, things got out of order here. Oh, I also
No.
talked to a,
Mr. Mayor, could you apologize to
And I said no.
for telling her you're gonna trip her up?
I didn't say that.
Yeah, no. Go ahead.
She's gonna trip her. That's all.
Oh, I'm sorry. I talked to a Scott Madjov, Matejov, and I talked to a Sean Stephenson, but to remember who was there or whatever, I don't know. That, to answer your question.
Right.
But those are the people that I was talking to, but who showed up that day, I don't know.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else have questions?
I have a couple of questions. Do you have documentation?
For what?
Well, documentation that you've got body parts in there, documentation that, the piece of iron can only be displayed certain ways? I mean,
Well, like I said, the iron came, they gave us the.
I'm asking if you have documentation.
I don't have it.
Okay, do you have documentation attesting to anything that you've said about what is contained within that memorial?
I didn't write anything down,
So there's no documentation?
no.
And I
But
guess
I know,
would-
I wished I had it too. Part of it.
And I
Part
guess,
of it
and I
is
guess I
because-
would ask staff,
But
if there
you
are
let me
indeed
finish
body
answering
parts
your
within that
question.
memorial, does
Let me
that put a
finish
whole different
answering.
legal thing on this, on this?
But I want to finish answering. The guy that did the most of the documenting for us passed away. And it's on his computer or whatever, I don't know. I personally did, that's my answer.
Okay, and thank you,
So I don't
I
have
appreciate that answer.
Yes.
But I'm asking staff a question here.
Vanessa, do you know the answer to that?
We would have to look into the legality of the city holding on to remains to human remains. There are usually strict requirements on the disposition of some of the things she indicated, such as blood. We would need to know exactly what's in there. It's not a mausoleum, it's not a graveyard, and so there are limitations that we do have to look into.
I guess I have one other question. Myron Construction built this,
They were the contractors that overseen everybody that was there.
and
yes.
so they are aware that all these items were placed within this memorial?
Where'd that picture go? That was from Myron, that was a general contractor.
I'm not sure what that picture shows. It shows a couple of guys standing in front of
Well, the
a.
one on the right is.
I'm
Tour
sorry?
Myron, yes. And this is Mike here.
Ma'am, I'm asking you, what does that picture show?
Inside of it is items that families sent to us or gave us to put inside the memorial.
So this tube thing that was in there, so Myra Construction has documentation that this was placed in
That's
there.
his picture right there.
I'm
I
asking.
don't know that they have documentation. I don't know what they've documented. I'm just saying I have a picture of a Myron guy that was there, that was doing the construction, whatever he's called, that oversees everything, that built that tube, painted that tube, and we put things in it right before we put it in the cement.
And I seen it go into the cement, not to interrupt
Okay,
her, but I
and
seen
you're
it
not
go
satisfied with the city building another memorial and placing the girder and all that other stuff out somewhere for the public to see and be able to get at 24 hours a day? You're not satisfied with that?
Absolutely not.
Okay, so it has to be this old thing or nothing?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
Joan?
Alderman Moore?
Thanks. Thanks, Ms. Jacks. Look, your word is good enough for me. I believe it's there. it- And I actually, I will agree with Mr. Sanderson. I think we're just overcomplicating things here. I would ask, where is the 14,000 now? I mean, I understand this was 7 years ago. Was that money put in some kind of an account, or is it still available?
What happened to it was the money was given to the granite company and the girl stole the money. Yeah. and
Okay.
I got her prison pictures right here. She's in.
Well, that's okay.
Well, I was just gonna.
I like the Green Bay News and Crime Report myself, but it's,
How does that implicate me?
She stole other people's money from the
Okay.
company and conglomerate.
right.
So I had it.
And I understand the cost of the granite.
The checks, I try to document what I could, you guys. I'm sorry if it's not.
The cost of the granite at 14K sounds appropriate. My background had a lot to do with procuring these materials, so that sounds appropriate. I'm just curious, did that include the cost of all of the engraving? Because that I think is probably where there's a really,
We never got to that point because
Okay.
the plans weren't accepted, so we didn't take them, and we were gonna get them laser etched after that, which
Okay.
would have been a lot, probably better, but we never carried it any further. Why would we? If it
Sure.
wasn't gonna be acceptable.
And I wasn't here when this was put up, and I appreciate all the extra information bringing forward now, and I'd fully support sending this back to Parks, whether it be on a new communication or however we want to handle it here right now, but I definitely want to take another look at it. I think it's worth getting the quotes and getting the bids and seeing what the cost will be, and look, if it's cost prohibitive, then we can handle it at that time, but I don't see any reason right now that we need to tear this thing down and get rid of it. The other part of that is, I would appreciate, if it's not too much work for you to forward to the council, the letters that you have that say how the steel girder is supposed to be handled. I think we need to make sure that we give that the full amount of respect. Everybody looked at that as the most important piece, not realizing that, there's DNA, there's personal items, and
We had to get it treated also before we
Sure.
could put it on a special way for people that touched it, whatever. Bassett Mechanicals.
Right.
Handled that, I think it's what they're called. They handled that at the time, when they dipped in certain kind of material.
Yep.
But that booklet that you referred to, that went back to ground zero. It wasn't something we could keep.
okay.
And it was very specifically, things that we had assigned that we could do and couldn't do with it, and where to place it and that kind of thing.
Well, we have a huge following that follows on YouTube all of our council meetings, and I'm sure that there's a group of people out there right now that are Googling this and finding all the documentation we need, and it might be in our inboxes by the time we get home. So,
Like I said, a lot of this stuff I don't have because George passed away. And
sure. Well, I appreciate you being here, and I'm sorry that it came down to this. I'm sorry that you just heard about it, because this has been discussion for probably a year or more, and it had been discussed previously as well a few years ago. This is just something that I think the council had seen, that we were kicking this, how we were going to handle it. We were kicking it down the road for several years, and it finally came time for a vote, and I was like, you know what, let's just cut the cord, cut our ties, let's just take care of it, and without having all of this background information. So I appreciate that you're here for it, and if this does go to the Parks Committee, I hope that you or somebody that, represents you guys is able to be there and answer some questions.
And the other piece of paper that I couldn't find also was at the dedication towards, where was it said the gift giving or something, to the city. And George presented me, or Schmidt, with a piece of paper that said something about, where our committee is giving it over to Green Bay. And on the back side of that it was double-sided frame, and it was, like you sometimes see with memorials where it says you can't tear it down for 100 years unless there's something, catastrophe, like a plane hits it or something. That was also given with that paper. A lot of memorials have that.
Sure.
But you can't take it down or change anything with it. And George had printed something like that up at that time. And I don't have that, but I have the other paper.
Sure. Okay,
You may want to see that.
Right.
thank you.
Okay. Are we good? Alderman Nenny?
Thank you, Your Honor. I chair the Park Committee, and I'd just like to give a little, maybe we should close the floor first.
Yeah,
Would that
that's
be appropriate?
right. That would be appropriate.
I'll make a motion to
Right.
close the floor.
The motion by Alderman Nenning, second by Alderman Story to return to regular order. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Alderman Nenning.
Okay, you know, this issue didn't just surface. It shouldn't have been a surprise, really, to anyone that this was happening, although I can understand that members of the public that don't live in this immediate community may not have been aware of it. But this was on an agenda of the Public Arts Commission on June 28th, talking about creating a subcommittee to figure out what to do with the future of the monument. Then their recommendation to create a subcommittee for that purpose was approved by the council on July 18th. Then the Public Arts Commission discussed it on July 26th and reported to the council their recommendation to remove the structure. It was brought before the Park Committee on August 9th and approved by the council on August 15th. So, you know, there have been probably 3 months of discussion here, and you know, I supported the motion to challenge the chair because I wanted to hear the additional information that was brought forward here tonight. I think it's extremely interesting, and it's probably information that the rest of us, many of us, were not aware of. I can tell you I've been on the council a little less than 4 years, and during that time there have been a lot of people in the community that have complained about the condition of the memorial, that it kind of what Alderman Weary said at the Park Committee, that it, you know, it really doesn't serve, when it's in disrepair, it really doesn't serve to honor the people that it was meant to honor. Now, I don't know about some of the issues here. I know that around the state there are many memorials, both interior and exterior, that contain portions of girders from the World Trade Center. I know there's one in Madison that contains a piece of granite from Pennsylvania where the plane crashed, and some limestone that was cracked at the Pentagon when the attack occurred there. So there are all sorts of memorials around the state and around the country. You know, I do think there's information here that we were not aware of at the Park Committee, and you know, I feel that we should discuss it, and I hope that any bit of information that can be brought forward is brought forward. I'd like to see all the documents that have been referred to, even if they're incomplete and just have names and phone numbers and so on. You know, part of the decision of the council was implemented on September 11th, when the girder was removed and moved to the lobby of the police department. But a good part of what was discussed, which was actually taking down the monument, putting it in storage until we could figure out what to do next. A lot of that has not been implemented. So I do think there is room here to discuss this further. And, you know, I guess I would make a motion to, well, I guess the motion on the floor is to reconsider. If we approve that, I would then make a motion to refer it to the Park Committee.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? All right, so we have a motion and a second on the floor to reconsider this item. All in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nay. All right, the ayes have it. Alderman Nenning? Roll the call?
Nobody said no.
Yeah. Okay, Alderman Nenning?
Well, he didn't say it was unanimous, he said the ayes have it.
I did.
Was it unanimous, Your Honor?
I don't know, I said the ayes have it. Okay, it was. All right, Alderman Alderman Nenning? Oh my God, this guy's out of control tonight. Okay, use the board, please. Then reconsider, yeah, go ahead.
What was the original proposal?
No,
Because if we say no, then does the food have to go back on the memorial, or, because what exactly are we, entails the whole reconsideration?
Yep, hang on.
Thinking of communication, yeah.
We're just gonna send it back all, Scannell, and then, so we can discuss what we're gonna do. Nothing's gonna be done until we discuss it again afterwards. Nobody's gonna touch it no more, everything that's down is gonna stay down until we get where we're going.
The motion was to approve the deaccession of the 9/11 sculpture based on the findings of the 9/11 sculpture subcommittee as presented to the park committee. In,
So it's only been partially discussed, so.
well, okay, I just want to, he's asking, what did we do? And we approved that motion, and the unanimous decision of the group proposed accession of the monument, temporary location of the beam from the wreckage of the World Trade Center, and the development of a permanent monument to be part of the future police and fire administrative complex. And then, so, I mean, that was what we approved.
If this is passed, we're halting all.
Well, reconsidering,
Right, but we're not gonna go back to, because we reconsider the vote and we say, no, we're not, we deny that motion was to be a session and we've already started that.
Alderman Jimmy, we're just halting the process, correct, on your motion? We're just
why
halting
didn't you
the
just put
process,
in a
we're not going no
communication like I
further.
said?
We're reconsidering it, 9 months reconsider, we can do whatever we want.
I understand.
But you've already did the ceremony deaccession.
So we could end up putting it together.
There's something that was taken off. Yeah. It's just not gonna be touched. Until,
All right, let's go. Let's vote on the reconsideration.
we're reconsidering.
And that is voted 10-2, and now that's being reconsidered. Alderman Nenning? No, I told you that in the beginning of the meeting. It's not working. No, it wasn't.
And we need to go back to all the other votes.
Yeah.
And we need to say who everyone was. This is not appropriate.
It's gotta be a registered call.
It was. I just did it. Alderman,
Right to see the vote, the public has right to see the vote.
Alderman Dorf and Alderman Scannell didn't vote in favor of the reconsideration. Alderman Nenning, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. I will make a motion to refer this issue to the Park Committee for further discussion before any additional action is taken on the subject.
All right, there's a motion by Alderman Nenning, seconded by, to refer this item back. Right, Alderman Zima? It's on referral? Did you have anything?
Yes, oh, I didn't realize you called him, Your Honor, thank you. I'm very much in favor of this referral. I think we've seen that this memorial can be repaired at what is really a relatively significant cost. And why we would somehow rush through and take down something that is actually a monument that's in a place of prominence that is a tourist attraction. I go by this at least once a day, sometimes 3, 4, 5 times a day, as my office is close to that area. I see people all the time posing and taking pictures there. You know, it's really a monument, you know, to those that died at the hands of, you know, the evil enemies of the American people and our way of life. And it should stand, you know, as a beacon that we don't forget the evil that was done, that really literally paralyzed our nation for the better part of a year, put us into a economic depression. I think everybody in this room can remember, just like I'm old enough to remember when President Kennedy died. Nobody forgets that day. And I remember 9/11, because I was watching the television in the morning, and the stock market futures were booming up, and I was looking forward to going to work because I had a person who wanted to sell something. I thought it was going to be a good day. I went and had breakfast.
All right, just
When I-
referral.
Just a second. The story needs to be told. Why do you always interrupt, Your Honor? But that day.
Trying to keep you on point to referral.
When I came
We
into my
were at the, you weren't
office-
at the ceremony. A lot of people talked about what you're talking about right now, how meaningful this was.
Well, why are you interrupting?
Because
Don't we
it's
have 5
not
minutes
on point
talk?
to
Don't we have
referral.
5 minutes to talk?
If it's to the point.
It is to the point. Because, and I'm just saying that this was a very significant day, and we have the main monument that's reported in newspapers, and we, for peanuts, would trash it. That's a place where 10,000 people a day minimum pass through there. It's something that should be repaired. It should be done right. And when I hear that people, volunteer people, tried to do it and our administration really didn't cooperate, for whatever reason, they don't like it. But it needs to be repaired. It needs to remain a significant place in our history here in Green Bay. Thank you very much.
All right, so there's a motion and a second to refer this item back. All in favor of referral, please signify by saying aye. And those opposed, nay. Okay, clerk.
We are now on to referral of petitions and communications. On page 1 of your packet, you have all petitions and communications received by the clerk's office by noon on Thursday. We will now accept any late communications you may have.
Alderman, start with Alderman Tom Dwayne.
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. This goes to Parks, and that's a change to deer hunting ordinance throughout city of Green Bay for requesting permission from neighbors to hunt from 100 yards to 50 yards.
Thank you.
And this is something I worked out with.
All right, thank you. Alderman Zima?
Thank you, Your Honor. I have 3 communications tonight. The first to the Park Committee. I'm requesting that the Park Committee review and update the Green Bay, Wisconsin Comprehensive Waterfront Plan from 1995 to determine what can be done to complete the vision of that study. 2, I would, for the Protection and Welfare Committee, I'm requesting that the Protection and Welfare Committee review the current rat problems in Green Bay and consider recommendations as to what the city could do to bring the rat problems under control. And 3rd, to the Advisory Committee, I'm requesting that the Advisory Committee review the history of the Mayor's Beautification Committee and recommend an appropriate name as Mayor Schmidt has unilaterally disbanded the committee. After 100 years of effort, this committee should continue to be recognized as it is, complete with agendas and minutes reported to the council and the city of Green Bay.
All right, thank you. Alderman Steuer?
Thank you, Your Honor. Alderman Zima brought one forward that I'm going to repeat regardless, and this is also from Alderman Worry as well. To put together a plan of, this is to inspection, to put together a plan of action to deal with the rat situation in the city, including existing budgets and potential monies needed to handle the situation. Thank you.
Thank you. Turn your light off, Mark, so I can see who's
Yes.
next. Alderman Zima, can you turn your light off so I can see who's next? Alderperson Dorf.
Yes, I'd like to refer to personnel to determine the legality and practicality of imposing an 11 p.m. end time for city council meetings for June, July, August, and September. In addition, to schedule a meeting for the Thursday the same week of each of these Tuesday monthly meetings to complete council business if needed. And I'm doing this as a result of concern about the members of the public who have not been able to speak or have not been able to see what has transpired, because our council meetings have lasted well past midnight in the past few months. So
Thank you.
would like this to go to personnel.
All right, anything else? All right, thank you. Alderman Slotnick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is for traffic discussion with possible action to allow parking on the east side of South Point Road in the 1500 block.
Thank you. Alderman Moore?
Thanks, Your Honor. For Parks, and just to cover ourselves, review the council action in subcommittee work regarding the decommission of the 9/11 memorial with possible action.
All right, thank you. And Alderman Weary?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I didn't know Alderman Zimmer was putting this in, but this is from Alderman Stoyer and myself. To protection and welfare, request that the city of Green Bay develop a plan of action regarding the increasing rat problem on the west side of Green Bay.
All right,
Thanks.
thank you. All right, Chris, do you have any late communications?
Yes, I do. For protection and welfare, notice of change of agent for Quick Trip 420 at 712 East Mason Street, and also appeal by Kathy Gillette to the denial of her operator license application.
All right. Seeing no other lights, I'll entertain a motion to refer all petitions and communication. By Alderman Scannell? Seconded by Alderman Galvin. All in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye. And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it, and all petitions and communications are being referred to the proper authorities. Okay, clerk?
We're now on to reports for council action. Report of the Park Committee.
There's a motion by Alderman Tom Dwayne, seconded by Alderman Dave Nenning, to approve the report of the Park Committee. That was for the meeting held on Wednesday, September 13th. Any items in this report you wish to handle separately? Item 4. Hearing none others, all in favor of the remainder of that report, please signify by saying aye. And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it. All items have been approved with the exception of item 4. And what are your wishes regarding item 4? Motion approved by Alderman Slotnick, second by Alderman Scannell. Alderman Moore?
Thanks, Your Honor. I had a chance to sit down with Donnie and go over what we were looking for out there. And I apologize I wasn't at the meeting. I ended up getting called away that night. But I would just want to make a motion here that we, rather than refer the request, we approve the request. And just add language that says to add one light at or near the parking lot to be determined by staff and to use 2018 CDBG funding. Which will avoid
All right, so we have a motion by Alderman Moore, seconded by Alderman Tom Dwayne, to amend the item to approve with staff approval for one light. Any discussion on that? Alderman Weir, did you want to discuss that as your light? Okay. All in favor of the amendment, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nay. And then Alderman Moore, a motion to adopt is amended. All right, there's a motion by Alderman Moore, second by Alderman Tom Dwayne to approve as amended. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. That item has been approved.
Report of the Economic Development Authority.
There's a motion by Alderman Tom Dwayne, seconded by Alderman Randy Scannell to approve the report of the Economic Development Authority meeting for the meeting held on Wednesday, September 13th. Any items in this report you wish to handle separately? Hearing none, all in favor of that report, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. Ayes have it. That report's been approved.
Report of the Public Arts Commission.
All right, there's a motion by Alderman Randy Scannell, second by Alderman Bill Galvin, to approve the report of the Green Bay Public Arts Commission for their meeting held on Wednesday, August 16th. Any items in this report you wish to handle separately? Seeing no lights, all in favor of that report, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it, and that report has been approved.
Report of the Redevelopment Authority meeting held August 31st, 2017.
All right, there's a motion by Alderman Tom Dwayne, second by Alderman Randy Scannell, to approve the report of the Green Bay Redevelopment Authority for the meeting held on Thursday, August 31st. Any items in this report you wish to handle separately? Seeing no lights, all in favor of that report, please signify by saying aye. And those opposed, nays. Ayes have it. That report has been approved.
Report of the Redevelopment Authority meeting held September 12th, 2017.
We have a motion by Alderman Tom Dwayne, second by Alderman Randy Scannell, to approve the report of the Green Bay Redevelopment Authority for the meeting held on Tuesday, September 12th. Any items in this report you wish to handle separately? 2. Item 2? 1. Hearing none others, all in favor of the remainder of that report, please signify by saying aye. And those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. That report's been approved with the exceptions of item 1 and 2. What are your wishes regarding item 1? Motion to approve by Alderman Randy Scannell, second by Alderman Tom Dwayne. Alderman Moore, did you pull that? Who pulled this? Who did? Alderman Slotnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have some questions I'd like to direct to Director Vonk.
All right, go ahead. Director Vonk, let me get you lit up here, all right?
On East Town Mall, I read passing a term sheet with Lexington, but Lexington is not mentioned in this development agreement.
Correct.
Can you explain why we have a different developer?
Sure. It is still the same developer in a sense of initially Lexington Realty is the company that purchased the property. One of the principles of Lexington is going in with a separate developer, which is the GBES owner. So there still is the connection to Lexington Realty, but they have this LLC, the GBES owner, that owns the property, and they will be the ones with whom the development agreement is with.
Okay, tell me how I presume before we did the term sheet with Lexington, there was some vetting done of Lexington. Has that same sort of vetting been done on the developer named in this development agreement?
Yes, there's an additional party who is an investor. We've had conversations with that individual. We've done some initial vetting of some of their projects. We still need, before we execute this, to get full financials on it, but we are comfortable moving forward with this development team.
The reason I bring this up is I'm trying to learn from past experience. We did vetting on Mr. Franz, and we went forward to do business with Mr. Franz on the Hotel Northland, being assured that, you know, the balance sheet was very strong and we could go forward with confidence. How can I be confident of this outfit? And again, this wouldn't be as big of an issue to me if this was all pay-go. But in this one, we're putting $1.5 million up front. So I want to make sure the vetting is really solid and that we can be really confident about this developer. So what can you tell me that'll put me in that spot?
Sure. So one of the obligations that we have in terms of what they would be required to do in the money up front, their agreement is to pay back that money through the tax increment created. They would agree to two things. One, a certain assessed value, and then two, the debt service that we would put into it to pay back that debt service at 110%. So in terms of those two pieces of what we're looking for, and that security, I guess it's two ways covered in both, one from the assessment aspect, but then also the actual payment aspect of, you know, just because we can't predict what our borrowing costs are going to be to the penny at this moment, they've agreed to cover that to 110%. I think part of the other pieces in here is that with many other development agreements, there's other checkoff spots in the process in terms of them having to submit design plans and specifications to make sure that what they say they're going to do in terms of creating that value. And also with the timing, because it is stretched out a little bit further, that is one of the things that we've discussed in terms of being able to build up the tenants and the lists to make sure that, again, what we are looking for is going to be completed in that sense.
Now, I understood you to say that before we sign these agreement, they still owe you some financial information.
That is correct. And generally, because we are dealing with private financial companies, what we will do is have the developer owner submit personal financial statements, and those will be reviewed strictly by our finance director.
Okay. Is this time sensitive? Must we act on this before we've done that review of the financials?
It is time sensitive in the sense of the timing with the creation of the TID. And one of the things that we need to do is in the proposed on the agenda tonight for creating TID 19, which encompasses the East Town Mall area, which includes the Cub Foods project, the East Town project, and basically a lot of the parcels between Mason and Main and towards the east, Shopko. In order to create that TID, because East Town is in it, one of the things that I feel as a city we need to do is have a development agreement with the developers of East Town Mall, given I do not want us to create a tax increment district where we have a base value of the property as is today. And if we don't have a development agreement in terms of having them create additional value there, I would be concerned that they could go in, shutter the mall, or tear it down and reduce the value from what the base value would be reestablished of this year. And so from year one, we'd put ourselves in a hole in that TID that would be pretty tough to dig out of. And I think that is one of the reasons that in terms of us having that agreement in place, I feel at least protects the city of maintaining that at least that base value, so that we don't get ourselves into a situation, which I think we've talked about with 3 other TIDs that we're closing, of we create a TID, and the immediate years after, properties go off the tax roll and reduce in value, and then we're never able to climb back out. And I would hate for us to be in a situation that we put ourselves in with this TID from day one.
Going back to the question of financial vetting of this new developer, and it is a new developer, granted, it's got some of the old with it, but.
Correct.
Can we get a written report on the outcome of that vetting?
Yes, I think without disclosing, again, just some of the personal financial, I think, the finance director and I could come across with that report and just kind of provide some details about the financial position of that developer.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Nothing more.
All right, thank you.
One quick question for Dr. Vaughn.
And then just hit your light, somebody in front of you. And Alderman Weary, did you have something on this?
Not right now.
All right, Alderman Vanderleest?
I was just gonna ask you, Dr. Vaughn, on the evaluation of that property, is that being challenged in the courts right now?
Yes, so there is a challenge to the assessment that is currently in the courts right now. The difference between what the city feels the base value should be set at about $7.3 million. The developer feels that the base value should be closer to $3 million. Developer feeling that their purchase price should set the base value versus the city's position in terms of looking at some comparables. The way that the development agreement is written, the developer agrees to whatever the courts decide is the base value. They will agree to that base value for 1/1 of 2017. Where it has an impact is on the pay-go in terms of the increment that they're creating. If they win and the base value goes down to $3 million, ultimately their project, they are guaranteeing 2021 and beyond a value of $18 million. That increment will be much greater, and so the pay-go can be paid back much faster. If it comes in and the city's position is upheld at the $7.3 million, the increment is not as great, so the pay-go will take a little longer to pay back. But they have agreed, and we've talked with the Department of Revenue, that we won't be penalized depending where that base value comes in. So if it comes in on the city side or it comes in at the developer's side, both have agreed that will be the value for 1/1 of 17. I think the developer has also said, we're just talking about the calendar year 2017. Either way, in 2018, they will agree to the city's value of $7.3 million. So even if the courts would side with them and it would be $3 million for 2017, they will agree that, look, for 1/1 of 2018, it will be $7.3 million. So that, in its sense, while it impacts then the pay-go, it's not that much, and it's accounted for here in the development agreement. We would have to come back to the development agreement if for some reason the court would come back with a number in between. And just so we're clear in terms of the timing and how the pay-go would come out in the end. But we would anticipate the court would not come back with the value any lower than $3 million and wouldn't come back with a number any higher than $7 million.
What is the length of that TIF project in the 19?
The TIF as proposed would be a conservation rehabilitation TIF, which is 27 years. The developer has projected that their payments would go out until 2037. And so this agreement expires the sooner of them recouping the 1.5 on the back end or 2037. So the agreement would only be for 20 years.
All right, thank you. Do you have a question now? All right, Alderman Weary.
Mr. Mayor, either for Director Vonk or Attorney Chavez, I'm just wondering how much legal expense we have so far in this, in their contesting the value.
I actually am not able to answer that for you. The city attorney's office by ordinance is directed to represent the Board of Appeals, so we cannot represent the assessor in the court case.
But the city of Green Bay is incurring the expense for,
I'm sure that's true, yes. I just couldn't give you that information because we can't participate.
and so could they appeal it if they lose? Could it go on to another level and incur more expense? I mean, they would have that right, right?
I imagine they could, but again, I can't
I'm
participate
just-
in that.
All right, so we don't know how much legal expense we have, or we can't say, and they could appeal it. I'm not comfortable giving them 1.5 million up front in the middle of a lawsuit, you know. And sounds like hunky-dory, like it could work out, but I'd rather that be resolved and take a look at it later. Thanks.
Okay. So there's a motion and a second to approve item 1. Your light's not on. Oh, well, it's not on, but Alderman Steuer?
Okay, I'm hitting it.
Is mine on?
No.
I pushed it twice. I don't know,
But
there's
just-
something wrong with the system.
Right.
All right, can
So
I go?
maybe we just have to raise our hands now.
Can I
Okay.
go?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, thank you. For Director Vonk, there's been quite a bit in the news as of late. The state is looking at this dark store legislation. You're familiar with that, I presume?
Correct.
How much of that is coming into play with this development, do you feel?
Sure. Again, like Attorney Chavez said, I've not been involved in any of the court proceedings, just given that is a case between the assessor and the developer. My understanding of what the developer has said and where they are coming from, their arguments are more based on that this purchase was an arm's length transaction and that the valuation should be based on what that arm's length transaction was. In my understanding, they're not referencing the dark store theories that are going around or that type of valuation. That they feel this was on the market, it was offered up, it was on the market for a while, 3.1 million, that's what they paid for it, so that's what the value should be assessed at.
Well, can you understand the concern that Alderman Wary brought up as far as voting on something like this with that hanging over our heads? I think there's some concern, and I see this in other parts of the city too, where this dark store legislation may come forward, and I think the state needs to, eventually, hopefully, take care of that so that the city won't suffer, because I feel the city will suffer in the future with this.
Sure, and I think one of the things that's the reason we wrote the development agreement that way is no matter what the base value for 1/1 of 2017 comes in at, that value would be accounted for, that would become the new base value. My concern would be is that if we don't have this property locked up in a development agreement and the city's value in the court case sticks at a 7.3 million, and then they could come back they could come back with a dark store argument if the legislation does not pass throughout the state and could go through and start to make a case that it is a dark store and end up then really taking a hit either on the TID or the levy in terms of what those tax dollars would be. So I think that's why this was written, look, whatever the court decides that base value is going to be, so be it. Either way, they will say, look, by these dates, we are going to guarantee that the aggregate value of this property is going to be over and above that. And so looking at starting next year, it'll be 7.3. The year after that, the 2 years after that, it'll be 15 million. And then in the fourth year and thereafter, it will be 18.
So it's it's in the courts now. We really have nothing to do with it.
Correct. I mean, it is up right now between the assessor and the developer. So I think in terms of what I mentioned to Alderman Slotnick, in terms of if we are looking to create a tax increment district in that area to, one, get this project going, but then also to support the Cub Foods development, that is why staff feels it is important to lock up a development agreement so that we at least know the trajectory of these properties moving forward.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
It's not on.
I'll hit it again. Is it on now?
Yeah, no, it's not. Go ahead.
It's not.
No, it's not.
Okay, so I've tried about 4 or 5 times here,
Okay,
so.
all right, go
Have
ahead.
somebody check that out tomorrow.
Yep.
Dr. Von, at one time, there was a request by the former developer, I guess, that you said that 25,000 square feet of it had to be leased by a governmental body. Is that still part of this?
It is not. That in the term sheet, what was contemplated, that part of the agreement would include them leasing space to a new east branch of the Brown County Library. The library director and the board discussed, debated that idea, ultimately decided that they would not be a part of that. Even though the term sheet that was brought through at the end of last year was non-binding, I think it was made clear, I think, by members of the council that part of the upfront money was to go to building out the library. And I think that was one of the things that we took back in terms of renegotiating, reducing that upfront amount. I believe the term sheet said 2 million down to 1.5 to account for the fact that the library, that public amenity, would not be included as part of that. With that, I think in continuing conversations with the library director, we would still like to see an additional or new East Branch library, perhaps on an outlet at this location or somewhere else nearby on the east side, which could still be a possibility. Just they will not be leasing a space inside the property.
No.
It just strikes me that if we can't agree on the value, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it was contested a couple of years ago, the value was contested, it was upheld to be at over 9 million, was it not?
I believe it was contested when it was under different ownership.
And it was upheld at that time to be worth in excess of $9 million at the time, wasn't it?
I believe that's correct.
And I know there was a discussion at the redevelopment authority about, well, we wanted to artificially lower it down to some low number, and I think the assessor's office balked at that, about even being legal. But the 3 million that we've, how does it work in here? I mean, it looks like, I guess explain to me better. It seems to say that that's going to be the base value, 3 million.
It is
But that's just for 1 year.
correct. So it is written that if the.
And it goes up as you go along.
Correct.
That's,
So,
that's if they do it, but do they get, when they get the 1.5 million up front, they get that, whether they bring it up to that value or not? Let's say they only bring it up to a $5 million value, when we said it's supposed to be 15 million by a certain date. What happens then? They get the 1.5 million regardless. No matter what they do there, they get the 1.5 million.
the agreement states that even if the assessment, our assessor were to go in and say that property is only worth 5 million, they would pay an assessment based on the values that are stated in here, minimally. So let's say in year 2022 or beyond, that property only assesses at 16 million. They have agreed in this contract to pay an assessment based on $18 million. If it's higher, they'll pay it 19, 20, but they will pay at least the taxes as if it were assessed at $18 million.
Of course, this is another LLC, correct?
That is correct.
And under an LLC, could they escape that if all went bad?
There's always future possibilities of any LLC, any individual, any corporation going that way. I feel based on who the developers are and other projects that they have done, that we are confident in that they will be able to pull this off.
And what do you base that on?
What do I base that on?
You've seen their financials?
I've looked at other projects that they have completed, and believe that they would be the ones to be able to come in here in terms of discussions that we've had in terms of their potential tenants and lessees of getting the project done, that they are capable of doing this.
But why is it that the city and the developer haven't been able to come to an agreement other than $3 million? That's pretty low. I mean, you talk about an arm's length agreement. I mean, it was in default with the bank, I believe, before it was bought at about between 9 and 10 million, closer to 10 million.
Yeah, can I just say that the leases were different at that time, very different at that time. And secondly, they feel like they have case law on their side. They think it was an arm's length transition, that we assess things at the purchase price. They gave us case law in Kenosha where this, and Russ said it's not, and we don't get involved in assessments here. So we said, look, no matter what, we need $15 million this year and $18 million the year after, and they've agreed to that. So I just really, I think if we get into weighing in on assessments, that's kind of why
Well, it
we
just
have.
seems to me if we can't come to agreement on kind of some basic things, what kind of relationship is that?
It's actually pretty good.
And, well,
I mean, you were in the meeting with them.
it's not good enough for them to
Would
pay
you,
more
would you
taxes.
agree to something if you really had case law on your side? And I don't know who's right, and we're not, that's why we have a court system here. We said, look, no matter what, we need the 15 million.
If you want to debate it, you have to step
Yeah,
down.
I
Your
just
Honor.
want to explain this.
Yeah,
I
well,
think,
Well, I wasn't talking to you.
all right.
And you have, if you want to debate it, you have to step down. That's
I'm not
one of the
debating it,
rules.
I'm just explaining it.
Let's go, let's get to it.
But there's $1.5 million that we've got a bond for and give to them up front, no matter what they do. What if they just walked away from it at that point in time? Do they have to give back the $1.5 million?
So one of the things that we have in here in terms of the timing of the project grant, the project grant would not be delivered until 2019, and we would break it out into 5 payments. So in terms of
$300,000.
just doing the 1.5 in one lump sum, we would go through and break it out to make sure that, again, you know, they're
So we
moving
could
along.
cut it off at any point if they weren't living up to their expectations?
If they would fail to live up to the expectations outlined in the agreement, yes.
So we have, let's say we made one payment and of $300,000 and things just weren't moving along. Could we withhold the rest of it?
My interpretation of the agreement, yes.
Yes.
It's-
So it's not guaranteed up front then?
I think that is one of the reasons that we structured it that way, is to make sure that in terms of being able to complete the project and do things as specified and as intended, instead of just providing it all in one lump sum, we would break it out into those chunks to have a little bit more security in terms of making sure they are doing what they said they were going to do.
So the total subsidy based on the assessments that they're supposed to live up to is $1.5 million up front and $1.5 million pay-go, and that's the end of it.
That is correct.
Okay, thanks very much.
All right, with that, we have a motion and a second to approve item 1 under this report. All in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nay. All right, ayes have it, and that's been approved. We're now on to item 2. What are your wishes regarding item 2? Motion to approve by Alderman Scannell, seconded by Alderperson Dorff. Is that you? Alderman Moore.
Thanks, Your Honor. I think this is a good term sheet that we have going here. What I like about this is that we're looking at a $19.2 million project. We're looking at increasing our annual tax revenue on this by $400,000. They're going to create 35 jobs, $48,000 to $50,000 the average salary. Not to mention the construction, plus laying the groundwork for more future expansion by securing the property around them. That's all great. What I didn't like about it is that when we recently borrowed some funds from TIF 12 to put toward a few other TIFs so that we could close them early, pay them off and close them early, some of the discussion at that time was what happens with TIF 12. Well, TIF 12 is one of our best, probably the best TIF that we've got. It's in the best shape. It's got the best revenue coming in on it. And this term sheet would ask us to potentially expand that TIF by 3 to 5 years. I supported borrowing the funds and paying it down, knowing that we had an opportunity to end 12 as well earlier. So I just want to offer some language, and I may have to have it get clarified a little bit about where it would go or how it would be added. Because we have an RDA meeting now scheduled for Thursday in just 3 days to take a development agreement on this special meeting. And I'm not going to be able to attend that meeting. So I want to add the language today to make sure it's in there and presented at that meeting. I would make a motion that we amend the term sheet to add language that reads, once TIF 12 meets cash reserves that will cover the project per the terms of the development agreement, that those funds shall be transferred to an escrow account specifically to apply towards the project, and TIF 12 shall be considered for early termination at that time. Dr. Vonk and I talked briefly about that just after the meeting, and the more I looked into it, more sense it makes. If we ever decide to do another TIF out there, we can do that, but I think we need to end this. We need to get this revenue back into the city.
Second.
Does that work?
Yeah, just to Alderman Moore's point, probably in the term sheet and recitals and F, where there's language about asking JRB to extend the termination of TID 12 from 2025 to 2028, we'd probably strike that and insert your language. Talking with Director Ellenbecker and with the Joint Review Board, I think one of the things we talked about in terms of closing the TIDs is coming back to JRB next week with the plan how to shut down TID 12 on time or early. And I think in terms of the obligations that we're laying out here, we can accomplish that and still get the development agreement in terms of having the TIF incentive available in order to make it work and close TIF 12 early.
Give me that one more time so I can, we're amending this to strike, what's the paragraph?
It would be in the recitals, paragraph F, striking language that talks about extending the termination of TID 12 from 2025 to 2028, striking that.
I'm not seeing that. All right. Where's that?
Page 2 of 10 of the development agreement, it would be the
5T.
yep,
Okay.
fourth line from the top.
All right. So there's an amendment being offered by Alderman Moore to strike, right, item F on 5T and insert it with the language as presented. Is there a second to that amendment?
I did.
Oh, seconded by Alderman. Anything else, Alderman Moore?
No, that's all.
All right, thank you. All right, so I'll ask for a, do we have an amendment on the floor? By Alderman Moore, second by Alderman Dwayne. All in favor of the amendment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nay. All right, then all.
Move to approve as amended.
All right, motion to adopt is amended by Alderman Tom Dwayne, seconded by Alderman Ryan Scannell. Alderman Zima.
Thank you, Your Honor. Dr. Vonk, under the tax incentive cap, says the city shall not be obligated to pay TIF incentives in excess of the lesser of $3 million or the total amount of qualified expenses incurred and paid by the developer. Could you expand on what that means, qualified expenses, and how does it interact with the city's obligations to pay?
Sure. Generally, when we talk about qualified expenditures, we spell those out in the term sheets, or, in the development agreement, what those are specifically for. We generally rank them in terms of public infrastructure, so money that needs to be spent on making any public improvements to the property, followed by things in terms of land preparation, private infrastructure on the site, other things that benefit the public. Building costs, hard costs. Generally, we put those qualified expenditures listed and prefer to have those things as tangible hard cost as those that are qualified.
So this is just the term sheet, so this would all be spelled out in the final.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, so we have a motion and second to adopt this item as amended. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it. Thank you guys for coming. And the Schwab guys are here. Appreciate that. Okay.
Report of the Traffic, Bicycle, and Pedestrian
All right,
Commission.
there's a motion by Alderman Tom Dewane, second by Alderperson Dorf, to approve the report of the Traffic Bicycle Pedestrian Commission. Any items on this report you wish to handle separately? Seeing no lights, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nays. Ayes have it, and that report has been approved.
Report of the Finance Committee.
But motion by Alderman Tom Dewane, second by Alderman Galvin, to approve the report of the Finance Committee for the meeting held on September 12th. Any items under this report you wish to handle separately? Hearing none, all in favor of that report, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. Ayes have it, that report's been approved.
Report of the Improvement and Service Committee.
All right, there's a motion by Alderman Ronnie Scannell,
Second.
seconded by Alderperson Barb Dorf, to approve the report of the Improvement and Service Committee meeting. That was for the meeting held on September 13th. Any items under this report you wish to handle separately? 12A. Hearing none others, all in favor of the remainder of that report, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it. That report has been approved with the exception of item 12A. What are your wishes regarding 12A? There's a motion to approve by Alderman Scannell, second by Alderman Galvin. Alderman Nenning, was that you? Yes. All right, Alderman Nenning.
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. I was informed that the amount that was approved at the Improvement Services Committee was actually an error. The bids included an option for a deduct to give our staff an option to deduct a certain portion of this. And it is not the recommendation of the staff to include that deduct. So the correct amount, instead of 1,203,518.85, should read 1,273,518.85.
That's your amendment.
So,
All right, so there's a motion by Alderman Nenning, second by Alderman Weary, to amend 12A to the correct amount of $1,273,518.85.
yes.
So there's a $70,000
$70,000.
Right.
that someone missed, or?
So it was a deduct that they don't want to,
This is a
Honor.
deduct that it was not the intention of our staff to deduct, so we'd have to add that amount back.
all right.
Okay.
All right, so we have a motion, a second for the amendment. All in favor of that amendment, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. Ayes have it. Motion to adopt is amended. By Alderman Scannell.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Dewane. All in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nays. Ayes have it. That item's been approved.
Report of the Personnel Committee.
All right, there's a motion approved by Alderman Randy Scannell, second by Alderman Bill Galvin, to approve the report of the Personnel Committee. That was for the meeting held on Tuesday, September 12th. Are there any items in this report you wish to handle separately? Item 2. Seeing no other lights, all in favor of the remainder of that report, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it. All items have been approved with the exception of item 2. What are your wishes regarding item 2? Motion to approve by Alderman Scannell, second by Alderman Bill Galvin. Alderman Zima.
Thank you, Your Honor. I also make a motion, I advise us to approve the item here tonight, but I want to alert the council that your minutes are going to drastically change in accordance with something supposedly we passed and spent money on. A lot more money than it would have took to replace the monument. But I think some people are surprised as to what that means. There's a possibility that your minutes are only going to show motions and votes taken. And that would be a big divergence. I depend on looking at the minutes to see what people's positions are and things, and the things they bring up and the arguments that are taken. And we're told that now the only way we're going to be able to do that is to plug into a site to listen to the meetings if we want to listen to what the discussion is. The discussion is not going to find its way onto paper. And we're going to have a presentation about it all, and I encourage you all to attend if you want to understand what might happen to you, because I think that's a very cumbersome way of handling things. We'll probably put less and less transparency to us unless we make very, very big efforts to go listen to all the meetings. We don't all go to all the meetings. We go over these things, we see from the discussion, things that might be of interest to us that we pull off and we discuss it here. If I understand it correctly, that's not gonna happen anymore. And I know that our clerk's office didn't like that I made comparisons to the county, but I made no criticism of our clerk's office. I think they're undermanned or underwomaned, I should say. And I don't think they have staff to do the type of minutes that I think we should be getting, because it does take time. And there is a difference between the county and here, but I tell you, those minutes are really good over in the county. You read them, you really get an idea what's going on and what the different arguments are, pro and con, when there is something that's contentious. That is not gonna happen here. It's great, I think it's great that we're having these things become permanent records, that people can tune into, whether it's the public or us. But there's no way to push a button and say, I want that printed off so I can carry it with me to a meeting for discussion or something else. I think it's going to bring our discussions much in reverse. So I'm just reminding you that presentation is coming up, and I encourage everybody to attend it.
All right, thank you. All right, there's a motion second to approve item 2. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. Ayes have it.
Report of the Protection and Welfare Committee.
All right, there's a motion by Alderman Randy Scannell. Second by Alderperson Dorff to approve the report of the Protection and Welfare Committee. That was for the meeting held on Monday, September 11th. Any items in this report you wish to handle separately? See no lights. All in favor of that report, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it. That report's been approved.
Report of the Protection and Welfare Committee granting operator licenses.
All right, there's a motion by Alderman Tom DeWayne, second by Alderman Bill Galvin to approve the report of the Protection and Welfare granting the operating licenses. Any names under this report you wish to abstain from or handle separately? Seeing no lights, all in favor of that report, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. Ayes have it, and those licenses have been granted.
Receive and place on file municipal court report for August 2017 and building report for August 2017.
All right, there's a motion by Alderman Joe Moore, second by Alderman Randy Scannell to receive and place on file the 2 reports stated by the clerk. Any discussion here? Seeing no lights, all in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. Ayes have it. Those 2 reports have been received and placed on file.
We're on to resolutions. You may, under suspension of the rules, adopt resolutions 12 through 18 together with one roll call vote.
All right, there's a motion by Alderman Scannell, second by Alderman Stoyer to suspend the rules for that purpose. All in favor of suspension, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. The rules are suspended. Motion to adopt by Alderman Randy Scannell.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Bill Galvin. This is 12 through 18. Alderman Moore? Oh, hang on. Go ahead.
Thanks, Your Honor. I just want to ask the city clerk regarding item 17 with the relocation of polling places. Was this something that was mandated down because all of these locations were in schools? And it looks like they've all been moved from schools?
In 2015, the school board, or school district, I should say, did ask us to get out of the schools. I asked them at the time because it was short notice, real close to an election where we have to give notice by law a certain amount of time, and it wasn't enough time. They said we could stay on, and then they looked at the cost and said they would hire security. And it's been made aware, they've been getting calls from people saying they're worried about the security of the kids and things like that. So yes, that's why we are moving forward with getting them out of the schools.
Okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
All right. So use the board on this, you guys. Ladies, sorry, Barb. All right, and those pass unanimously. Thank you. Okay, clerk.
Ordinance first reading, you may under suspension of the rules advance ordinance 19 to a third reading.
There's a motion by Alderman Scannell, second by Alderman Dwayne, to suspend the rules. All in favor of suspension, please signify by saying aye. And those opposed, nays. Ayes have it, the rules are suspended. Motion to advance by Alderman Randy Scannell. Somebody want to second that? Seconded by Alderman Tom Dwayne. We can take this on a voice vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. And those opposed, nays. Ayes have it.
Ordinance's third reading, you may under suspension of the rules adopt ordinances 20 through 21 together with one roll call vote.
There's a motion by Alderman Tom Slotnick, second by Alderman Mark Stoyers, to suspend the rules for that purpose. Okay, so let me get them suspended. All right, all in favor of suspension, please signify by saying aye. And those opposed, nays. The rules are suspended. Alderman Weary?
If we could handle them separately.
Okay, so, well, you have to suspend the rules. Or what are your wishes regarding item 20? Motion to approve by Alderman Galvin, second by Alderman Randy Scannell. Do you want to talk about that one? Did you want to talk about 20? Okay, Alderman Weary.
Thank you. And I may need help with how to craft it, because there's Washington Street, Elm Street, a few different streets in here, but the item regarding Washington Street is currently being handled by the Traffic Commission, and my intent would be to hold any action regarding Washington Street until the Traffic Commission renders a decision. Would that be inappropriate? Well, and
Yeah,
obviously,
let
and
me
the
get a-
council.
So we want to approve the ordinance with the exception of Washington Street.
So you can either
Right.
amend the ordinance to strike those ones, or if you want to hold the entire ordinance, basically give it a fourth reading, I think that would be appropriate, because you just have to have a minimum of 3 readings before you can adopt it.
Well, is it going to affect anything, Director Grenier, or if we hold this, Elm Street or
Hang on, let me ask.
Melrose? No.
Director Grenier, do you want an amendment to this to carve out Washington, or do you mind this being held till October 3rd for a fourth reading?
I believe what Alderman Weary is talking about specifically would be section 5 of the ordinance. Section 3, I don't think, from a timeliness perspective, I think we can hold the entire thing to a fourth reading and not have any issue.
Okay. Alderman Zima?
The problem is that the Traffic Commission only meets once a month, and they're not gonna be forwarding a recommendation to us for another month. So October 3rd isn't gonna help the situation on Washington Street. So I don't know if we can just pass the rest of it and just have Washington Street held for a month.
It's his motion, whatever you want to do.
Well, that's why I asked our attorney if we could, and it sounded like we couldn't. We could delete it, but we couldn't just hold part of it.
No, you've presented it as a unified ordinance, so either you're amending the ordinance and adopting it as amended, or you're gonna hold the ordinance. And you can commit it to a date certain, so if you wanna hold it for its fourth reading to a different date, there's no issue with that either.
October 17th.
That's another month.
Yeah, then let's go with that.
All right, so there's a motion by Alderman Weary, seconded by Alderman Scannell, to hold item 20 till the October 17th meeting, pending the results of the Traffic Commission meeting. Alderperson Dorf?
I just want to mention that traffic doesn't meet till the evening of the 16th.
Yeah.
Is that going to be a concern?
You okay with that? All right, fine, so,
You won't have the report.
It's the day before.
is that the Monday for, do I have the dates right?
They met yesterday.
Yeah, we meet on the 17th.
It's one day.
All right, that's fine. So we have a motion by Alderman Weary, second, are you still gonna second that?
Yes.
Second by Alderman Dwayne to hold this meeting till the November 3rd meeting. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nay. You okay with that, Director?
Yeah, you said.
Okay,
I was gonna suggest one meeting past.
it is, yeah. All right. And what are your wishes regarding item 21? Motion approved by Alderman Moore, seconded by Alderman Scannell. Have you used the board on this?
Hang on just a second.
That was a tough meeting. What's taking so long?
I think everyone voted a little too quick. I had to get that guy's.
All right, you
name
guys,
off.
let's clear the board and vote.
I need-
Do it again.
yeah. And I need Dave. Oh, you did it. I need Bill.
Hmm?
And Randy Scanlon.
What are we doing?
And can you confirm? Yeah.
You abstained. Do you want to? Okay, so you want to vote yes. All right, so that's unanimous vote. Thank you. Okay, clerk.
Committee of the Whole, consideration with possible action on status of Oneida Seven Generations litigation.
We need to update the council on this, and it's best that be done at closed session. You guys can leave. Do we have a second on that?
Second.
Second by Alderman Tom Dwayne. All right, use the board on this. This is to go into closed session. Motion by Alderman Zima, second by Alderman Tom Dwayne. Who needs to vote? All right, and that's a vote of 11-1. So we're going into closed session. Senior staff, you guys can leave. We'll see you tomorrow. Yeah,
Have you ever had one?
no. No cavities. I have no cavities, but I got, okay, let's wrap it up. What the hell am I doing? All right, I'll entertain a motion to return to regular order. Motion by Alderman Joe Moore, second by Alderman Annie Nicholson. All in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. We are returning from closed session, discussing the Oneida 7 Gen situation.
Make a motion to direct staff to, the attorney's office to continue with negotiations as discussed in closed session.
All right, so we have a motion by Alderman Moore, second by Alderman Randy Scannell to proceed as discussed in closed session. Use the board on this. And we'll get back to you. Just to proceed as discussed in closed session. Alderman Nicholson, you need to vote. Alderman Galvin?
I'm at a weird angle, so I can't do it as quick as I usually do, sorry. Dave Nenning, Joe
Alderman Nenning?
Moore, Chris Weary, Guy Zima, Tom Sladek.
Alderman Nenning? And Alderman Sladek. And that passes on a vote of 7-5. Entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn by Alderman Nicholson, second by Alderman Dwayne. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. We're adjourned.
Well, we had a stream this year at Fast Games in 2012. 7 Yeah.
so you get here, and it's like, I can't drink any more coffee. I won't sleep. I'm gonna be here a little bit later, so.
So my understanding is that Barbara Jack claims that her group offered the city